Dua Lipa, Dance the Night on BBC Radio Oxford. That is the song for the new Barbie movie, and Dua Lipa actually is in the new Barbie movie, I believe, playing... I'm not quite sure who she's playing. Van, who I'm just about to chat to, he's the movie man. Do you know who Dua Lipa plays in the Barbie movie, is it?
I believe she's playing Barbie. Because there's multiple Barbies and multiple Kens.
A mermaid version.
I think she is also Barbie, yeah.
Yes, that's right. You're absolutely right.
Oh, actually, Dua Lipa, if I'm remembering this correctly, Dua Lipa plays all mermaids. There's multiple mermaids in the movie, and I think they're all played by Dua Lipa, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Because the Barbie movie is set to be quite a big movie this year. We're going to be talking about that, actually. Is it next week or the week after?
It's going to be 3 weeks from now. I think it's out on the 21st, which is a Friday. So we actually will be talking about it on the 21st. It's out the same day as Oppenheimer, funnily enough.
I'm quite excited about that one. But of course, there are new movies out today, and that is why it is time to talk to Van Connor. We've got 2 movies that Van has seen that I haven't, and he comes on to give his honest opinion, of course, as ever. So we're going to talk about the brand new Indiana Jones movie in a moment to see what he thought of that one. I hope I'm not going to be disappointed. But first of all, there's a movie called Bookstore out in cinemas today, Van. Talk to me about this.
Hello Bookstore is a documentary. This is because obviously no one's releasing anything of like massive scale opposite an Indiana Jones movie, right? Like you'd have to be an idiot, right?
Yeah.
There is, however, a new DreamWorks movie out, but it doesn't seem to be one that's massively publicized. I didn't even get to see it. Called Ruby Gilman Teenage Kraken, I think it's called. But Hello Bookstore is a new documentary from first-time documentary maker A.B. Zach, and it follows a small town sort of mom and pop independent bookstore in, I think the town's called Lenox, Massachusetts. And it's run by this beatnik old hippie type named Matt Tannenbaum. And you know what kind of guy he is? Always wears a cardigan, got longish hair, has a Bernie for President sticker on his back window. So you know the kind of guy we're talking about. And it's a documentary that follows this struggling business through the pandemic, effectively, as they struggle to not only afford to keep the lights on, but also just keep the store running past the pandemic when they find themselves forced to rely on the local community itself rallying around them via things like GoFundMe campaigns just to keep this business afloat. I've got a clip for you to kind of set the tone for this one.
I was just fresh out of the United States Navy and looking for a direction in my life. I met a guy, and he turned me on to Henry Miller, Kerouac, Fred Exley. That's what happened. I fell in love with writing. I bought the bookstore 10 days before I turned 30, and I've had it ever since. Look at the smile on that guy's face. He found a book.
I mean, this is quite a lot of bookstores went through this during the pandemic. I mean, I've spoken to you before about this. I had mostly books from Abingdon on my show during the pandemic because, things weren't great, and they got on their bikes and went and delivered books to people who wanted to read them. So do you think that's where the idea for this came from?
I mean, it's fortuitous that Tannenbaum happened to get all this chronicled as it was going on. You do sort of cynically suspect that they might have had to restage a few things. I mean, it's a nice enough, pleasant enough documentary. It's like an 80-minute long thing. It's not revelatory. It's not even the best documentary about book retailing I've seen. It's a sort of weird subgenre that seems to have cropped up. There is one called The Booksellers as well that I saw a couple of years ago that I think was a vastly superior documentary than this. But he's a likable, charming enough kind of beatnik character. It's just not an overly compelling documentary. Put it this way: if you went to the cinema to see Indiana Jones and it was full and you had to see whatever was in the screening next door, you would not be going home happy. You know what I mean? Like, it's also got the sort of cynical side of this, where you do sit and think, like, the guy doesn't do himself any favors, because the way he structured his business is in such a way that you can literally browse pictures of his books online, but you have to go to the store and buy them curbside. And you're like, okay, my dude, I don't think you know how Amazon works. This is kind of why the book retailing industry was kind of, dying on its backside so profoundly during this era. And like I say, it doesn't do itself any favors in that regard. It's not a movie that has a lot of self-awareness, not a documentary that features people with a lot of self-awareness. Although, like I say, he's a very likable, very endearing character. You'd want to have coffee and a scone with the guy. Definitely. You just maybe wouldn't go to him for business advice.
Well, if you want to go and see it yourself, it's called, what's it called? I've forgotten the...
Hello, comma,
Hello,
bookstore, because that's
bookstore,
literally
that's it.
how he answers the phone. Hello,
Right.
bookstore. The name of the place is the bookstore. So, hello, bookstore.
Imaginative. Okay. So, if you want to go and see Hello Bookstore, that is in cinemas today, and so is the brand new Indiana Jones movie. I really hope you're not going to disappoint me on this one, Van.
No, I'm not. I'm happy to say I'm not going to disappoint you, much like your email chime that went off. So, the new Indiana Jones movie, fifth one of these now. It's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So, what we've got now is it's a fifth one of these, as I say, takes place in 1969. You know, sans a prologue that's set during the final days of World War II, in which you get a very well CG de-aged Harrison Ford, which looks spectacular, I have to say. And we get Indy now in his twilight years, on his own in his apartment in Brooklyn. Gone are the days when all of his young female students literally bat their stenciled upon eyelids at him. He's now just the fuddy-duddy old professor, until one day, into his class, walks a young woman with decidedly different designs on our Dr. Henry Jones. She wants to enlist him to help track down the Dial of Archimedes, which it turns out was her late father's great crusade. His last crusade, if you will. Only it turns out that her late father was also Indy's good mate, Toby Jones, with whom we see him fighting at the end of World War II. The Dial of Archimedes is our MacGuffin this time around. What we get is a new spin of the Last Crusade dial, only in this time around, instead of, the elder Jones being Sean Connery, the elder Jones here is Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, and the younger incarnation here is Phoebe Waller-Bridge's Helena. And as I say, you've got a good spin of that dial. We've got the Nazis back as the villains, led by an Operation Paper-Clipped Mads Mikkelsen, who's just the textbook perfect Indy bad guy. You've got a swath of returning players, which includes John Rhys-Davies from 1 and 3, respectively. So he's done all the odd-numbered ones for this series. It's worth noting. John Rhys-Davies turns up as solo in the odd-numbered entries, and there's a few more returning faces I won't spoil for you, but it's bags of fun. I've got a clip for you. This is Indy and goddaughter Helena in the tomb trying to decipher the puzzles of the late great Archimedes.
Life lies at her feet. Water displacement.
Get in the pool!
Why? Help me open the door!
Well, they didn't get out the doors. Get in the pool!
Okay, I'm getting in the pool.
Help me! Archimedes was fascinated by water displacement!
Well, that sounds like some good action, and it came with a free physics lesson as well, twice that I heard in there, talking about water displacement.
Indeed, and it's that particular puzzle / trap is quite clever as well. Right, Indy's back. In 2 words, Indy's back, and I loved this. This is a proper good, fun, old school throwback. It's a great time at the movies. It more than makes up for the last one, to be honest. I mean, that doesn't take much, admittedly, because it was a really low bar set by that last one. And thankfully, I no spoilers, but I can tell you, there's no Shia LaBeouf. Thankfully, there is no Shia LaBeouf in this movie. There's talk of him. There's sort of an acknowledgement of him, but there's no Shia LaBeouf. So don't worry about that sort of pain in the proverbial backside. This is a good, like I say, good, fun, old school thrill ride. It's everything you love about an Indiana Jones movie and more. It's got, the set pieces, it's got the spectacle meets slapstick kind of combo going for it. It's got Harrison Ford, who's still got it at 81 years old.
I was about to say, has he still got it? Because, the last one was quite a while ago. I wondered if they'd calmed down on the action for him a little bit in this.
Seemingly not. I mean, I have to imagine there's a lot of stunt doubling going on given his age, because if you break Harrison's hip at 81, I don't imagine it's going to be an easy fix in that case. I really enjoy the new side. I really enjoy the new sidekick, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. It's very much the Fleabag performance without the fourth wall element. So it's got that kind of Fleabag level sass to it. But of course, because the movie is now set in 1969, specifically around Moon Day, which sort of sets this in late July 1969 specifically, there is a source sort of a contemporary edge to this that you don't necessarily get out of the others. They tried it to an extent with the last one by having Shia LaBeouf's character be the sort of Brando-style rebel without a cause, but it just felt awkward, and with the sort of the communist Soviet-era villains as well, it just didn't quite work. It didn't feel enough like an old-school indie movie. Now we've got the Nazis back, led by Mads, no less. Do you know what? We're back on form. You know, when you've got de-aged Harrison Ford punching out guys with swastikas on their arms and muttering, "I hate Nazis." Yes, he's back. We're doing it. This is what I'm here for. Give me my hat and bullwhip. I love this. And like I say, I felt like I was 9 years old again. This was just a proper old school, good time at the pictures. No one does it like Indy. James Mangold is not quite up to Spielbergian level, but last time around, Spielberg wasn't up to Spielbergian level, so evidently a hard act to follow up after the original trilogy. Mangold does a darn fine job, though. There's a couple of great set pieces. The tuk-tuk chase in Morocco, which I think the sort of second act action sequence, great fun. The formerly short fat Arab kid in me really enjoyed that Short Round was an Arab in this incarnation. We get an Arab Short Round, which just thrills me to no end. Like I say, John Rhys-Davies, and even when I see clips of John Rhys-Davies in this movie, I get a little choked up, like, oh, Salah's back. It's so lovely to see Salah back. Yeah. And I know that shouldn't warm the cockles of my heart the way it does, but it just does. And like I say, I love Mads as the villain. There's a neat little turn for Antonio Banderas in there as one of those many sidekicks that Indy just picks up along the way. But yeah, it's all about that sort of double act of Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Harrison Ford. It's very much in the vein of The Last Crusade. So I would say if you enjoyed Last Crusade, that's kind of what they're going for here. Yeah. And I think it works. I think it works really, really well. If you can see this in IMAX, by the way, do. It looks terrific. And say, get the best sound you can, because the second that classic John Williams score kicks in and you're sat in your seat going da 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 da.
Yeah. Every time I hear that,
nothing like it.
Does it make the hairs stand up on the back of your neck when you hear the theme tune to Indiana Jones? Every time.
Yeah, like Peter Parker in Avengers when the hairs stand up on his like. Yeah, exactly. That was me watching this. I was like a little boy again. I absolutely loved this. This is one of my top 5 favorite times of the movies this year, and I mean it's up there with like John Wick 4, Guardians 3. Kind of a time of the pictures. It's like Fast X level fun. I really loved this.
Well, if you want to see the new Indiana Jones movie, it is out in cinemas from now all over Oxfordshire. Go and enjoy it. There you go. You've got Van's approval, so it's definitely worth going to see quite clearly. Thank you very much, Van. Do you know what we're chatting about next week? What's out? What's new?
Well, all being well, next week we will get to talk about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 next week, and the new Disney movie Elemental, which is kind of best described as like Zootopia, but with the actual elements as characters like water, fire, etc., which I have already seen.
Amazing. All right, well, we'll talk about those next week. Have a fabulous weekend, Van, and we shall catch up then.
Till the next time, good sir.